Chaplain's message: leadership deception and the XYZ axis of leadership. Self-deception, the inability to see that you have a problem. First, the insignia of your rank on your uniform does not make you a leader. It makes you an officer. Have I gotten your attention? Sound boring? As a leader, this is a must listen to. This is a hard topic and one that requires you to be absolutely transparent with yourself. Self-examination, often the most painful thing you will ever do. Leadership self-deception begins as self-betrayal. Then self-betrayal begets self-deception. An example, your wife has just had a baby. The baby's crying at 0200 hours. You feign sleep, so your wife is, quote-unquote, forced to get up and comfort the baby. This self-betrayal leads to self-deception in this manner. Your wife's faults seemed relevant to whether you should help her only after you failed to help her. You focused on and inflated her faults when you needed to feel justified for yours. Having betrayed yourself, the truth was just the opposite of what you thought it was. In other words, when you betray yourself by failing to do what you know that you should do for another person, you enter that box of self-deception. You start to justify yourself, seeing yourself as a victim, as hardworking, important, fair, generous, etc. You start to see the other person as shy, lazy, inconsiderate, unappreciative, insensitive, unfair, etc. You inflate the other's faults and your own virtue, justifying yourself and blaming the other person. Here is the negative process in a nutshell. Number one, an act contrary to what you feel you should do for another is called an act of self-betrayal. 2, when you betray yourself, you begin to see the world in a way that justifies your self-betrayal. 3, when you see a self-justifying world, your view of your reality becomes distorted. 4, so when you betray yourself, you enter the box of self-deception. 5, over time, certain boxes become characteristic of you, and you carry them with you. 6, by being in the box, you provoke others to be in the box. 7, in the box, you invite mutual mistreatment and obtain mutual justification. You collude in giving each other reason to stay in the box. In the box, you see yourself and others in a systematically distorted way. Others are mere objects. They are seen as threats or obstacles to obtaining what you really want or need. When you are out of the box of self-deception, on the other hand, you see yourself and the other more or less as we usually are, as persons with hopes, desires, fears, etc., just like you. This creates all kinds of trouble for the people around you. People respond not primarily to what you do, but to how you're being, whether you're in or out of the box towards them. This brings us to the XYZ dynamic. When we hear people talk about the leadership grid, generally they talk about the X-axis, which is looking out for the people under your command, and a Y-axis, which is when you are committed to accomplishing the mission. But there is a third dynamic that no one wants to admit to, the Z-axis. The Z-axis represents career ambitions. Leaders often use both the mission and the people under their authority as means to accomplish the end to advancing their careers. In other words, neither the mission nor the people are as important to those leaders as advancing their own careers. When that happens, you're in the box. Furthermore, people can accurately sense whether or not you're in the box when you're dealing with them, no matter how cleverly you cover it up with management techniques. Being in the box of self-deception provokes others to be in the box and to act in a way that justifies your feelings towards them. This continues to spread upward and downward and can travel through the entire business or agency. How do you get out of the box? Biblically, getting out of the box often involves applying Jesus' teaching about getting the log out of your own eye before you try to help your brother get the splinter out of his eye. You are all leaders. Whether or not you are all effective leaders, I can't answer, but you can. Look inward, self-examination, take the log out of your eye. You're all strong. Your mission is to get even stronger. And that is often a painful and personal, humbling experience, but it is well worth the pain. Believe me, you will never gain more respect and credit with a fellow employee or officer than to recognize your problem or problems. Dialogue with them about your problem or problems and take full accountability for your past and future actions. Not easy, but the results can be amazing. I thank our Lord and the Arbinger Institute for their leading in this message. God's blessings. Chaplain Chris.